New York to California once again. What's going on, YouTube? FXDLS Brooklyn is back in the building, and as you can see, we have done it. We have once again ridden from New York to California, and this is just kind of a spiritual moment, you know, starting the trip in New York. Once you hit the California border is a feeling of completion that is kind of hard to describe. You know, to many in a cage, this is just another sign, but for me and this trip, it's a very different thing. A massive shout out to my road glide for taking me here and getting me to this point in the trip. A massive shout out to my old lady who came through to come and enjoy this moment with me. And that's it, y'all. It is beautiful. We are entering Lake Tahoe. These mountains, these roads, this sign, this is the moment, and I'm glad that y'all are here to experience this with me. So we're gonna get some riding in. I'll give you a little trip update as I've been trying to do, and that's it, y'all. This is what you may call a big moment. We made it to California, brother. Raise the suspension, they said. It'll enhance the experience, they said. Hold on, don't get excited. Let me see if I can do it myself first. Yes, for those of you who have done a cross-country trip like this, then you know what I'm experiencing right now. And no matter how many times I do it, it really never gets old. It's been 10 years of doing these kinds of trips. And the fact that I'm able to do it with my dad and share these moments with my family members, it just puts the icing on the cake. But let's rip it. So, I actually came through here last year. If you followed my trip coverage that I did last year, I'm actually not too far from the point of where I dropped my street glide when I was trying to get a good picture over there in those mountains. So I wanted to return to this point in the trip just to tell Jenny some stories of last year's coast to coast. And I'm not going to call this a coast to coast officially yet, because I want to wait until I actually can touch the Pacific Ocean, which will be in a day or two. But it's definitely across country. And the trip has just been simply amazing. There's those cattle over there. They were all the way up along the fence last year when I took the picture of crossing the California border. They were a little bit more shy this year, so I didn't get to get them in the picture. But the trip, y'all, you know, it's really been simply fantastic. Obviously, if you followed the early days of this trip, there was some calamities, some challenges, some things that didn't go as planned. But overall, I gotta say, this is probably my best in terms of efficiency of a bike trip, of having things so dialed in for the purpose of doing the bike trip, especially on this bike, that I really did think of every single nut and bolt and really took no shortcuts on this build. And I gotta say, it really has paid off, particularly on this trip, specifically on a day like today where we just rode this bike from New York, and now we're starting to get into some really exciting riding with a lot of twisties, and that's where this bike really shines in a different way, where the way that it's been built out, it handles a curve like nothing else, man. You know, I've said it before, especially when I'm throwing this bike into the curves, is where I could feel the remnants or the ancestry of my FXR. You know, it's basically just a slightly bigger FXR, and again, I definitely feel that, especially in the curves. But a lot of the content that I do, especially the way I've been covering this trip lately, which I've done it a little bit differently this time around. Those of you who have been following along, I've been actually cutting footage while I'm on the trip. So if there is a moment where, say, we're stopped at a gas station because we're waiting out a storm or this or that, I've actually been taking those moments to cut some of the footage that I've been recording. So we've been doing a lot of moto vlogs just to kind of give y'all an update of where we're at in the trip and what's going on. And a lot of you have expressed that you missed the moto vlog format, so I'm trying to also respond to some of the feedback that I've gotten, which is, hey bro, we want some of those moto vlogs. I got you guys covered. And right now, we're just cruising, dude. We're just enjoying some of the landscape. You know, I got Jenny on the back. And now, we are just enjoying an exceptionally beautiful landscape that only the West Coast can provide. You know, I love it out here, man. I love my Californians. I love the riding out here. I love that y'all have lane splitting. I love my friends out here. I love some of the builds that have come out here that have inspired me with some of my builds. California, man. I also come from a place, aka New York, that has a lot of problems but also has its benefits, and California is very much in that same vein. So I got nothing but love for my West Coast people and for my West Coast roads. It never disappoints, which is what keeps us coming back out here. But yeah, you know, now that I don't want to say the trip is over, the trip is actually far from over. You know, we're not even midway through. You know, I'm over 4,000 miles into this trip, and basically the next leg of the trip is we are going to be actually ripping to the coast. So you'll see a moment where I actually get to jump into the Pacific, you know, marking the completion of the coast to coast, which is important. And then we're gonna actually ride up the coast and do a bunch of moto camping. The road captain really wants to experience the Redwood National Forest, so I think we're gonna go there and we're gonna camp there for a night or two. And then the plan is to just continue up the coast on the 101, because I've spent a lot of time on the 1, which was a blast last year, but I haven't spent a lot of time on the 101, so that's what we'll be doing going forward. And honestly, I'm just enjoying myself so much right now, because when we came through Lake Tahoe last year, cutting into California, a lot of the roads out here were actually closed because they were having landslides. So a lot of the riding that I was excited to do, I didn't get to do while I was out here, which is part of the reason why we made it a point to come back, so that we could do some of the rides that we never got to do. So I'm psyched to have a couple days out here to truly enjoy some of this amazing riding environment. And I'm also just really excited to have my lady with me, man, to experience some of this. I can't say it enough, man. The Road Glide is the tool for the job if you like to do trips like I'm doing right now. And I should make a separate video about this, but I think the level of appreciation that I have for this current build is just from the fact that I come from the Dyna and FXR world, especially in sport touring, which makes me appreciate what this bike is capable of. So, you know, my friend Rob tells me that you got all these people complaining on the Harley Davidson forums about the Road Glide doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Dude, you guys need to get yourselves on a Dyna and do a cross-country trip on that, and then start complaining about these bikes. And why get a 135 in your bike? For this reason right now. Passing has never been easier. Goodbye, U-Haul. Hello, nature. Seriously, if you want to feel like you have cheat codes on your motorcycle, drop a 135 crate in that bike and install some Lindell brakes with Brembo pads, and you will have plus an inverted front end from Kraus, and your motorcycle is going to feel like you're running cheat codes. It's like the Game Shark for your Harley Davidson in terms of easily being able to pass people, being able to stop when that brown bear jumps in front of you, and being able to devour the irregularities in the road as well as cut into those twisties, man. This, like I've said before, is the final frontier of an FXDLS Brooklyn build. I can't imagine I would ever be able to top the bike that I am on right now. All that's really left to do is just enjoy the bike, man, which I think I have been doing. So yeah, that's my trip update. Like I said, it's a big moment. I'm trying to make sure I cover with some active real-time narration of the big moments of the trip, and crossing into California is one hell of a big moment. And I hope if you're someone that has been on the fence about doing trips like this, that this provides maybe some motivation to get out there and do it. If you're somebody that does do these trips, well, I hope that you could re-experience it with me right now, because that's part of what I'm trying to do with this content. Because when I get to go back and cut it, I get to do the ride all over again, which is part of the reason why I still enjoy motovlogging, even though we've reached some different heights cinematically. Hell yeah! Still burning in the building. Another national forest. Alright, y'all. I'm going to get into some of this fantastic West Coast riding. I hope you've enjoyed this update. Ride motorcycles far. Do cross-country trips, do coast-to-coast trips, and build it out to be performance-oriented all the while. On that, stay safe out there, outride your demons, and stay cursed. FXDLS Brooklyn is out.
Goodbye.